Happy weekend, everybody. You've made it through the first 2 weeks of the course. I have to admit, I was kind of reeling whenever I realized this was the last weekend that we have in Module 1. I feel like these first 2 weeks kind of blew by very quickly. With that being said, I've been following through in the discussions and a little bit involved in them also. I'm very impressed with the way you are all wrapping in not only your personal connections to the questions that are being asked, but also the course materials. This is a new book that we've actually instituted in this course this semester, so I'm hoping that all of the interaction that you're making with the book says that we made a good choice in choosing this one. At the midterm, I'll be sending out a Google survey to you, asking you some questions just about the remake of the course and how things are designed and some of the materials that we've been using. So keep that in mind as you're working through them, just to think critically about what these new materials bring to the course. And I know you never saw the old materials, but we're just trying to figure out whether we have a good mix for you all to do great learning. So as we move into Module 2, we're finishing up Module 1 today, and I want you to know, or tomorrow, I'm sorry, and I want you to know that I have started grading, so anybody who's complete with all of the requirements for discussion boards, I've started to grade those. I've graded a couple of the projects, the critical self-reflection projects already, and they've been fantastic. I'm really appreciating and enjoying looking at how you've gone through and interviewed stakeholders and how you're really looking at what the issues are in your buildings and in your system. It's great to start to look at this, especially then to step back from being a teacher or from being a counselor and to start to look at it as a leader in the school system and how leaders actually start to evolve and look at these practices. So in Module 2, we're going to be going into specific school policy and practices. We are going to be looking at sort of national, state, and district policies, and we're going to be looking at teachers, parents, and students and how they attempt to interact with policy to make changes, but also really how they are stakeholders in the policy process and whether or not they're able to truly make a difference. So in this module, we have 3 videos. One's on school suspensions. One is on school security and then overall discipline policies. And then the final is I'm in, and it's examining the importance of attendance in our schools. All of these are different policies that are set forth in our school systems. They're different school by school, sometimes just administrator by administrator even within our schools, that the way these are applied can be very different. So please take a couple of minutes. You can see the middle one is the longest one. I always like to watch the videos kind of while I'm doing things around the house so that I can hear them. So just keep that in mind. That's a great option for you. You have 2 chapters to read in the Khalifa book this week, chapters 4 and 5. And then you have multiple articles that we only want you to choose 2. So I really want you to kind of think about which ones are most important to you. I really appreciated reading the dress code article that I've added in here, how dress codes criminalize males and sexualize females of color. It's a very interesting article to read. And then, of course, the special education policy. A lot of you have been writing about your English language learners in your buildings. And this might be one that would speak to you if you're really passionate about looking at English language learners and figuring out how to help them to better access a well-rounded and equitable curriculum. So after all of that, you still have the normal activities, posting one time in your learning log, and there are 3 discussion forums also. And for this, your submittable assignment is going to be a policy analysis. So if you scroll down to the very bottom, the policy analysis is a place where I want you to create a visual or a chart to answer these 4 specific questions that you see here in regards to 3 written policies that are in your building. And for the first question, what is the policy? I would just like you to copy the policy. A couple of places you can go to for this. Number 1 would be your school website. A lot of times your school website will carry policies that are written for community events, for students who are going to be coming to events outside of school. Student handbook is another really good place to do that. And then also, because they will have a lot of policy written, the whole thing is policy. But then in addition to that, if you're looking at your system, you could always go to your school system district policies and look at what's written up with that. If you need any help with this, you should ask your administrative team. a lot of those people will have access to the policies, and a lot of them may know them by heart. But just make sure you're looking for the specific policy and you're copying it down verbatim for that first question so that we can be clear about what the policy is. Next thing you're going to be looking at is, who does this policy affect? So I really want you to dig deep and consider beyond students, even breaking it down, disaggregating that a little bit. What students really does it affect? What parents does it affect? Does it affect people outside of the building? Does it affect athletes more than it affects the common student who maybe would be an art student or a student who's in maybe drama? So I always tend to think about those disparities, how policies are unequally applied across different social groups with students. For whom was the policy written? Or another example of that would be, who will benefit from that policy? It could be the teachers, it could be administrative staff, it could be community overall, school community, learning community, individual students. And what are the possible positive and negative outcomes of the policy? Then I want you to consider one policy that is unwritten. It seems that the further we go into our educational careers, we start to realize there are ways that we do business. And that's just the way things are done here. So I want you to consider one policy that seems to be unwritten, a rule that people follow, or a norm that people have attained and just commit to that isn't necessarily written down, and answer those 4 questions again using that policy. Now remember, that part there should be a visual, a chart, some way that you can show it. It doesn't have to be a lot of writing. And then you're going to do just a final 2 to 3 page reflection describing your overall understanding of policies in your district, your current beliefs about how and why policies should be written. Also then going back through the course materials and citing some of that as evidence to help support your beliefs. You can use the videos, you can use the articles, or you can use the Khalifa text. In addition to that, if you have something that's very important to you that you've read outside of the course, please feel free to bring it in, as long as you reference some of the course materials as well, and make sure you put it on your bibliography page. So I think that's it for introducing you to Module 2. Please continue to do exactly what you're doing. I appreciate working with you again so much because I remember the commitment of this group. Actually, before we started working together in this class, I went back through and read some of your postings in the previous class that you took, just so that I could kind of get to remember you again and get to remember your hearts and what drives you. And it's so fantastic to see that throughout all the courses you've changed, but you've always been able to stick to what you believe in. So it's very interesting to see how committed you are to helping students, to changing things, and to creating equitable experiences in your district. So thank you very much. I look forward to working with you through this next module. And please continue to work and finish the assignments that are due for tomorrow at midnight as we complete Module 1. Thank you.